Welcome to Briz Productions.
G'day guys, welcome back to another exciting video here on Briz Productions. Guys, thank you so much for tuning into our last video with DJ Crunk. But today, ladies and gentlemen, we've got another Adelaide local who has taken Australia by storm, but now unfortunately he lives in Western Australia, making a living, and we all know him as the World Beater. It is Damian Slater, ladies and gentlemen.
G'day mate, how are you?
Oh my gosh, good evening. Guys, we've got Adelaide to represent right here, professional wrestling. How you doing, mate?
Always, mate, always representing. Unfortunately, I'm not south anymore. I'm on the western border, but that's okay. Still represent when I can.
You still represent. You still got Adelaide wrestling in you from Wrestle Rampage days, mate. Those are the best days.
Mate. I'm still at every Adelaide United game. I'm still at every Adelaide Strikers game. I do what I can. So yeah,
that's true. All right, guys, we got the big man himself. So Damian, I just want to ask you, mate, the wrestling business, like where you came in. So, how did the whole wrestling career for you begin at an early age, if I could ask?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just turned 15 when I started training in Adelaide at Salisbury, a place called the Monster Factory, and back then, pro wrestling in Australia wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a big thing. This is pre-internet age, so. Each state might have had one, maybe two promotions, and South Australia, we just had the one training school, one trainer, one promotion. Me always being a fan since a young age, something I always thought, I'd love to do this, but it wasn't a possibility for anyone. And then I was about 11 or 12. My dad was a rugby coach, and one of his players said that they'd just started training for wrestling. So I was all over it, and I was always trying to go down to the rugby club and try to ask him questions. And my dad took me to a show, and it was a Pro Wrestling South Australia show. I think it was maybe only their third or fourth ever show, and this is like 99, 2000. So yeah, I went to that show, and I was instantly hooked. Just to see it all live and in person for the first time was unbelievable, and I knew that one day when I was allowed to, when I was old enough, that's exactly what I was going to do. So yeah, as soon as I turned 15, I signed up straight away. I went down to the Monster Factory, and man, I had my ass handed to me 2-3 times a week for many years to come. It was a real tough time, especially being so young. And back then it was a very old school. It was a very old school approach to training. So a lot of tough love in there.
Do you remember your very first inspiration of world wrestling, as we all know from WWE, as we all know from back then, WWF? Who was the big wrestling inspiration you used to look up to as a kid?
The Rock. The Rock was number one.
Yeah! Can you feel the power slipping away from the game? He got the electrifying move. It's worth it. It's people
Yeah, he was one of the ones that first got me into it. But funnily enough, I was actually around about 1998, 99 is when I started watching. I would have been 11, 12 years old. And the thing that hooked me was actually The Undertaker and Kane.
Steve Austin getting decimated. Oh, King, this is bad. Oh, yes. A spike. He wants it. A spike tombstone. Oh.
I was a massive horror movie buff. Like I used to watch Halloween and Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. And had no interest in wrestling. In fact, anytime someone would bring up wrestling at school, I was kind of like, that's all fake. Why would you watch that? That's all fake. And then one of my mates, we had a birthday party, and he put on the old, I think it was WWF Warzone. It was on channel 9 or 10.
Jeez, there's a lot of that.
I think it was like you'd have to stay up till midnight to see it, and it was a 1-hour wrap-up show, 6 months delayed, and that was our only exposure to pro wrestling. And the first thing I saw was an episode of Raw, and The Undertaker was sacrificing Midian and taking a blade to his chest and carving his symbol into his chest. And like that, for me, that's what got me into wrestling. The actual athletic side of it, that all came much later. But originally it was the theatrics, the character, the dark themes, all of that kind of stuff, which is funny because I've always been known for my technical wrestling and that kind of thing, but it was the polar opposite that actually got me into it in the beginning.
So, as we all know, that you are Adelaide's #1 wrestler. Besides, yourself, Jonah Rock, Harley Jackson, all the guys that have gone on to become big sensations in WWE and also New Japan Pro Wrestling. And you, as I recall, you started training wrestlers at 19 years old at Wrestle Rampage at that St. Clair Recreation Centre at the time.
We were before St. Clair. We used to train at City Gym in Light Square. So that was our first training facility in 2005 or 2006. 2006, mid-2006. Our original training centre at Salisbury was about to shut down. Our trainer was, at the time, I think he was close to 80 years old. He was getting up there. He decided to give it a rest, to take a break. So Hartley Jackson actually wanted to branch off and start his own facility. So yeah, City Gym is where we started. We painted a squash court inside City Gym, and that was our home for many years. We were there for a long time. But yeah, that would have been mid-2006. And yeah, St. Clair came a few years after that. Around 2014 is when we moved to St. Clair.
Okay. And well, obviously you've taken your wrestling extreme all over Australia, as we all know, from Ride City Wrestling, Wrestle Rampage, MCW, and also taken overseas as well from, as I said, New Japan Pro Wrestling. But mate, what was it like though competing in WWE's Cruiserweight Classic?
I'm WWE Cruiserweight Champ, representing Australia, Damian Slater!
Damian Slater considers himself the eternal underdog, but his innovative offense is going to catch a lot of people off guard.
Definitely the highlight of my career to this day. Just an unbelievable experience, something I never thought I would ever get to. I'd been doing tryouts for a couple of years before then. I'd been seen by their top talent scouts, and I'd received all this positive feedback, but I honestly never thought it was actually going to happen. Being an Australian or being an Adelaide kid, it wasn't possible for us. No one had really done it before. It was always, yeah, you guys are good, but you're too small, or you're not over 6 foot. I'm 5'11". I'm barely scratching 6 foot, and that was always a bit of an obstacle. So I never really thought it would happen, and then it all just started just rolling for me. It went from getting an email about a possible tryout that was upcoming. So I said yes to that. And then a week later it was, actually we want to do something with you in June, but we can't tell you what it is. And then before I even knew what it was, I was reading rumors online about this cruiserweight tournament. And they didn't even tell me what it was. They just said, we need you for these dates, and wouldn't tell me why. And then that just completely kept rolling on into this Cruiserweight Classic, this worldwide tournament. 32 of the best wrestlers from around the world. Almost all of them were unsigned, top indie guys. And then to be in a class with some of the very best. And obviously my first round was with Tajiri, who's a legend, a Cruiserweight legend, a former WWE champion, a former ECW champion, a Japanese great. Yeah, man, still can't believe it. It was unbelievable.
But you actually got to perform in front of a huge crowd, but also you actually got to train in WWE's Performance Center with the A-Train himself, the head trainer. That was, for me, look, I wouldn't care if I was competing in the event. I just care about, I'm in the actual Performance Center. I actually can't believe that I'm in training with the best and talking with the best. But
yeah.
Did you see some old familiar faces though when you arrived at the Performance Center?
Yeah, at that point, Buddy Murphy had been signed, and we were very familiar with each other from the Melbourne indie scene. We wrestled each other multiple times just before he got signed. So he was there. Two of my old friends, Shane Thorne and Mikey Nichols, who was wrestling as Nick Miller, TM61. They, I think, recently gotten over there.
Oh, yeah.
Who else? The
Iconics there?
Were over there at the same time. Yeah. They actually got signed from my original tryout in Melbourne and Adelaide in 2014. That was our first tryout, and they got signed from that one. They were the only two. So yeah, there was a good group, which was good because the nerves were outrageous. The nerves were unreal. So to have some familiar faces there to kind of train with you, train alongside you, and show you around was really cool. It was a great experience.
That's amazing. But I guess the $1 million question is right now, what is the future for Damian Slater right now, from now to the future for everything to come? So what's the future for you, mate?
Pro wrestling is the most unpredictable industry in the world. You never know what's going to happen, and I learned that the hard way, or the good way. I learned it the good way. I've always said, what's the future? And it's always been that I'm just going to keep pushing forward, whatever that may be. And for me, it was always getting a contract, a full-time contract to wrestle, whether it be WWE, New Japan, AEW, you name it. But as of the last year, as much as I would love that, and I'm still going to always be pushing towards that, my goals have kind of shifted a little bit, and I've been focusing more on the training and coaching side of things. I've been coaching people, like you said, since I was 19, 13 years ago. But now I've got a much higher role in Perth for EPW, head coach of their North facility. I've been running my own YouTube channel, worldbeaterwrestling.com, putting out weekly tutorials for pro wrestling technique and conditioning drills. And that's only scratching the surface. I have a lot of plans for that to take it a lot bigger and further. So I'm really enjoying the coaching side of things. I'm a teacher in my day job.
I'm a professional wrestler.
So how do the kids look up to you? Like, they look at you thinking, my teacher is a wrestler, but do you use some of the same tactics they use with the teaching and also when you are wrestling or doing wrestling teaching?
You're the first person who's actually asked that. But yeah, absolutely. I find that they go hand in hand in terms of the promos that you cut in wrestling, having to improv, having to talk on the fly with no preparation and get into that moment. It's the same with teaching. Even though we're delivering content, I'm teaching the kids how to do this or that, I need to make it entertaining and engaging for them. So when I'm up there in the front of the classroom delivering my lesson, I'm basically cutting promos. Like, I'm animated, I'm engaging, I'm ripping into kids, I'm cracking jokes left, right, and center. There's a lot that goes with it, and I feel like teaching has actually helped my talking within pro wrestling tenfold. It's been a real good, real good learning experience for me.
I can imagine. Like, and they look up to you as well, like as a role model. They just think, I've got a cool ass teacher who's like a friend of mine, but he's actually a pro wrestler for a living. Nice. But
for some reason, they all think I'm a boxer. For some reason, they can't understand what wrestling is. So yeah, every day I still get kids saying like, "Oh, do you still do that boxing?" It's like, yeah, sure, man. I do.
They wouldn't understand the wrestling that we all grew up on, the Attitude Era. They would not even understand how we went there. But if I could ask, if you have any advice to give to anybody who wants to become a professional wrestler or be part of the industry, what is the one advice you'll give them if they want to make it that far?
Consistency is key. Consistency is number one. And that goes for anything in life. But I truly believe the cream rises to the top. No matter what you do, as tough as it might seem, as much as it might seem that you've spent a year or 2 years just learning the basics and you're not getting anywhere, all it takes is one opportunity for you to really break through to the next level. So consistency is everything. If you roll up to training, regardless of whether you're sore, tired, exhausted, don't want to be there, get there 2-3 times a week and just close your mouth, open your ears, and just learn. And honestly, that is the number one thing that will get you towards your goal. And of course, have fun. It's supposed to be fun. If it stops becoming fun, if you're feeling like you're just not getting anywhere, you're not enjoying it, just leave. Like, there's no harm in realizing that, okay, maybe I'm better off as a fan, or maybe I'm better off as a referee, a ring announcer, whatever. Not everyone can be pro wrestlers, unfortunately. It's the toughest thing I've ever had to do in my life. But just be honest with yourself, enjoy the journey, and take in as much as you can.
That's actually really good, because it is actually a very tough industry to get into, as Australia is a very, very small on that, but it's expanding every single year, which is amazing. Like, as I said, Wrestle Rampage have increased, Riot City, WSW, World Series Wrestling, MCW, you name it, they've been coming up crazy. And WWE, of course, the number one brands we all looked up to as a kid, AEW, and also New Japan Pro Wrestling, very hardcore style. I actually remember my very first match when I saw you, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Team TMDK against the Bullet Club. Legendary match.
Again, another unreal experience. But yeah, New Japan Pro Wrestling, they were before this whole quarantine, they were really killing it, and they were starting to make waves in Australia, which is cool to see. So, fingers crossed, everyone from overseas is trying to come to Australia now. We've become a hotbed of talent. People are getting signed left, right, and centre. So I only hope that our local scene continues to thrive.
it's amazing, including your some of your friends, as I just mentioned earlier, Jonah Rock, Harley Jackson, and as we all know, Riot City Wrestling's very own Demi Bennett as well, just signed as well as Rhea Ripley, when we couldn't be more proud of her right now. Proud to represent.
For sure, man, for sure.
That is amazing. Well, Damian, thank you so much for taking the time all the way from Western Australia for tuning in here to another exciting adventure. Guys, if you want to see Damian's beautiful resume of wrestling, go on YouTube, see Damian Slater, or even going on his Facebook page, and also tune into some of his YouTube content. If you ever want to become a professional wrestler, he will teach you, don't you worry, and I think I'll be heading the ring in probably the next couple of years. All righty.
Give it a go, mate.
Oh, you never know. All right. Well, Damian, thank you so much once again, mate. Thank you so much. Guys, thank you so much once again for another video here on Briz Productions. Until next time, my name is Briz, and we are out.
If you'd like to check more videos here on Briz Productions, why not check some of the videos that are currently right here, right now. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the videos with any of your mates in particular. I'm Briz, and see you next time.